Did this show feel like a Monday Night Raw 4 weeks before WrestleMania? Did it? Because outside of Edge getting revenge on Randy Orton, and then also taking out MVP, outside of that, and then AJ Styles' promo on The Undertaker, outside of those two things, this felt like a random Raw on the build-up to some C-level pay-per-view. This felt like the build-up to Extreme Rules or Stomping Grounds. What part of Bobby Lashley versus Zack Ryder screams build-up to WrestleMania? What part of Drew McIntyre versus Eric Rowan, with McIntyre smashing that random object in Rowan's cage, what part of that screams WrestleMania build? What part of the Kabuki Warriors in women's tag action screams WrestleMania? Why is Aleister Black vs Seth Rollins main eventing randomly, only for that to become an 8-man tag with the Street Profits, Viking Raiders, and Rollins and his disciples? Why did they book this show the way they did tonight? Like, this show, I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks. Granted, Raw is not as bad as SmackDown. It's not, like, what Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon are doing on Raw is nowhere near as bad as what Bruce is doing on SmackDown. But, I mean, that being said, this show, like, some of the promos were good, because the Becky-Shayna match, that got a promo. Becky Lynch just talked about Shayna in the opening segment. Such a weird opening segment. We got Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley doing a promo off. And God, I could not care less about that WrestleMania match. I really couldn't. Charlotte and Rhea. Like, it's just happening. And there's no legit issue. Charlotte calling Rhea entitled again. And it's like, this is so hypocritical. Undertaker, AJ Styles got a promo segment. That was good. Randy Orton, Edge, MVP. They did a little segment. That was really good. And then that was literally it. Because outside of that, we got, Riddick Moss versus Cedric Alexander. Like, what? Angel Garza, Rey Mysterio. On paper, that's awesome. But the match got, no time. So, holistically, I look at Monday Night Raw for March 9th, 2020. I'm thinking to myself, WrestleMania 36 is 3 Raws away now. It's 1 month away. And we're getting this? This is what we're getting on Raw. This is what Paul Heyman's vision is for Raw. Really? Because, literally, outside of that Randy Orton and Edge segment and then the Undertaker, AJ Styles kind of promo thing, where Taker wasn't even there, outside of that, this show is another just waste of time. If you miss this show, you just watch Edge's segment back, watch AJ Styles' segment, and that's it. And you've saved yourself 2 hours and 50 minutes. Like, Raw should not be like that on the road to WrestleMania. I'm going to say this again. Why is Bob Lashley versus Zack Ryder happening? Why is Cedric Alexander versus Riddick Moss happening? Why? So, that's going to be the basis of the review. Why are you booking this crap on the road to WrestleMania? This should be the best time of the year to watch Raw, and it was 2 months ago. Like, in my reviews for the Raw shows on January 13th, 20th, 27th, and then February 3rd, I was actually praising Raw. Crazy to think, isn't it? And now, ever since, from February 10 on, these Raws have just been so mediocre. Like, there's been a good segment or two, but that's it. Like, last week's show was inconsistent and pretty dead in the middle. This week's show was just boring throughout. So, let's get into this review, basically. Becky Lynch, she opens Raw, coming out with a women's title. I'm so sick of Becky Lynch, I really am. She comes out, she's really, arrogant again, and she cuts this, 7-minute promo about Shayna Baszler, talking about how Shayna Baszler is friends with Ronda Rousey, and they call Shayna Baszler the Cage Fighter. Such a cringe nickname. So Becky's continuing this promo, talking about how Shayna destroyed all the women in the chamber last night, including Asuka. So we see a recap of that. Okay, are we going to do anything in this promo? Is Shayna Baszler going to brutally attack you? This is what I would have done. I would have had Shayna Baszler snap, completely take out Becky Lynch. I'm talking bad. Really take her out. Make Shayna Baszler seem dominant. Don't just say, oh, she's a cage fighter, she's dominant. Have Shayna Baszler brutalize Becky Lynch. Because Becky Lynch is just kind of arrogantly just talking about her, and Becky Lynch seems so just pompous and arrogant, and it's what is this? So, that was the Shayna Baszler against Becky Lynch segment open Raw. It was just whatever. Some people are saying this was a really good segment. I don't see what you were watching. It was fine. So, from here we moved on to the show, Angel Garza vs Rey Mysterio. I mean, okay, on paper I really like this. No complaints. But in reality, we got 2 minutes of the match, a 4-minute commercial, and then 4 minutes. So, we didn't even see half this match. We got some cool luchador kind of moves, and hopefully Angel Garza wins the US title at WrestleMania, but outside of that, nothing to see here. Rey Mysterio wins by pinfall with a slingshot splash after a 619, okay. So, whatever, Rey Mysterio wins in pretty much a 6-minute match, fine. This wasn't anything special, I wish it was. Should have given this like 25 minutes, but they didn't. From here, we see random footage of Kevin Owens and Rollins having this exchange backstage earlier in the day. At this point, I'm done with this. Owens versus Rollins, if that's a WrestleMania match, I don't care to see it. I cared about it 2 months ago, but they've done nothing in the last 2 months outside of rematches, so I don't care. Back from commercial, we get the stuff with the NXT Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. Just, whatever. I'm not even really going to cover this promo. It was pretty much the same promo segment we've seen over and over again. Like, Charlotte called out Rhea Ripley for standing in an empty arena, in an empty stadium, talking about what she wants to do. But Charlotte says that it's another thing to go out and do it in front of 90,000 people. Like, okay, Rhea Ripley came out and she cut this like all right promo talking about how it's a kingdom and whatever. Like, okay, Charlotte versus Rhea feels so forced. I don't really care about it either. Like, it's happening. They're really forcing the agenda with it, and I don't care. So that was that segment. And from here we see Randy Orton in a boiler room, which, I mean, that was cool. I like that. So after the commercial break, we get hype for tomorrow night's Backstage. So WWE Backstage, which got 18,000 viewers last week. Just remember that. From here we get Bob Lashley versus Zack Ryder. No, this isn't a match on WWE Main Event on the network. No, this is Monday Night Raw. We're seeing Bob Lashley versus Zack Ryder. Now, if you followed up and continued with that Rusev Lana Lashley thing on TV, this would make sense, I guess, giving Lashley a win. But Lashley lost in the triple threat match to Ricochet and Rollins to fight Brock at Saudi Showdown. Now he's just nowhere. There's no direction for Bobby Lashley. Lana's just there. Bob Lashley beats Zack Ryder, as you'd expect. So, just whatever. Does anyone care? Like, Bob Lashley beats Zack Ryder. Wow. That's going to change the atmosphere of World Wrestling Entertainment. The WWE is never going to be the same. Like, it's Bob bloody Lashley. This is the same one who kissed Lana at the wedding on December 30th, and Lana had just literally Bob Lashley's whatever all over her face. Like, anyway, that's gone way off topic. So, moving on with the show, we get a recap of Drew McIntyre taking out Brock last week. From here, we see Aleister Black in his room cutting a promo about hearing a knock. From here, Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy shows up, and they ask what they can do for him. So Rollins says that it's nice to formally meet Aleister Black. Black has had an issue with the numbers game, but Rollins is an expert, so they're trying to recruit Aleister Black. Aleister says that they're fighting words, and he accepts the challenge. So later in the night, we're seeing Rollins versus Aleister Black. Or so we thought. We got like 5 minutes of it. Save that for later. From here, we get Drew McIntyre. The same Drew McIntyre, Scottish psychopath. The same guy who is fighting Brock Lesnar in what should be the main event of WrestleMania 36. Drew McIntyre is having a match with Eric Rowan. Yeah, so McIntyre wins with a Claymore kick, and he squashes that tacky-looking spider thing that's inside Rowan's cage. It was so unimportant, the reveal of what's in Rowan's cage, that last week in the Raw review, I didn't even mention it. That's how unimportant what's in Rowan's cage is. So, literally, McIntyre squashes this spider, this tacky spider that you buy from an arts and crafts store with steel steps, and that was the end of it. Drew McIntyre just stands tall. Rowan looks like a loser. They gave Rowan like 8 weeks straight of wins, and now he's just losing to everyone, so, I mean, whatever, I couldn't care less. From here, we get a recap of the Orton Edge thing, and then the Kabuki Warriors make their entrance. At this point, I'm pretty much done with Raw. I've seen what I've needed to see. I've seen that they don't care, so from here, we get the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, in tag team action against Liv Morgan and Natalya. Yes, Liv Morgan and Natalya. I kid you not. Kabuki Warriors, Liv Morgan and Natalya in a tag match. Yeah, nah, moving on. Kabuki Warriors won from a roundhouse by Asuka to Natalya. Don't care. Could not care less. Apparently, Sarah Logan made her way down to the ringside area. Ruby Riott was there. They tried to brawl. I don't care to see the Riott Squad fight. They were jobbers in the women's division back when the women's division was actually popular. Now no one cares. No one cares about the women's divisions, let alone the Riott Squad, so get it off my TV. From here, we come back from commercial and we see the OC. So AJ Styles gets on the mic and says that not once but twice Undertaker has stuck his nose where it doesn't belong. He's taken away moments from him. He stole the beautiful 2-White trophy at Super Showdown. And, he says that 3 years ago at WrestleMania, he saw Undertaker get beat by Roman Reigns, and after the match, he folded his jacket, took it off, and laid it in the middle of the ring. So this promo, I actually liked it. It brought up some logical points. Talked about how Taker's human at this point. Taker's an old man. He really referenced that. He mentioned Michelle McCool. Talked about how 10 to 15 years ago, he might have been wary about calling out The Undertaker, but Undertaker's lost his mystique. Like, this is a good promo. I'll give it like for what it was. It was an entertaining promo. Mentions Michelle McCool, and then this sets up next week, us getting a contract signing between Undertaker and Styles. So that was a good segment. We moved on to the show. We see Randy Orton interviewed in the boiler room. So that's fine. And then, he refuses to speak to Charlie Caruso and walks off. From here, we get Cedric Alexander versus Riddick Moss for the 24/7 title. Why? Riddick Moss, if you want to put him over, stop giving him 24/7 title matches, because that does anything but. So Riddick Moss just wins. Who cares? From here, we come back, and MVP's on the mic. He's cutting a promo. He runs Washington, D.C. down at this point of his career. He's trying to be like a heel. So from here, he'd like to start with a guy like Edge and, wrestling with talent or whatever. From here, Edge rolls up, gets out of this vehicle. He's striding, with intention, like a man on a mission after what Randy Orton's done. This was sick. We hear You Think You Know Me. This was awesome. The crowd popped hard. Edge makes his entrance. He gets on the mic immediately. He's calling out Randy Orton. He's half feral. He's screaming. He's pissed. MVP says that his problems, he's focusing on the wrong things and his mentality's off. And speaking of the wrong things, MVP asks how his wife is. Edge just spears him. That was great. From here, Randy Orton attacks Edge from behind, but Edge gets the better of Randy Orton. From here, Edge hits him with an ace crusher. Edge gets a chair and brings it in the ring. He thinks of, taking out Randy Orton, but then gets a second chair. Randy runs away like a scolded dog, but then MVP gets caught, in a head and arm triangle as Edge stares wild-eyed at the Viper. Pretty much, this was really sick. Literally, Edge just hits the ace crusher on the steel chair to MVP. This was awesome. He lines up MVP. But this whole thing, pretty much just Edge cleared out Randy Orton and MVP. It was really good. Great stuff. If you didn't see it, go watch it. So that was the highlight of the show. From here, we're told about that Undertaker Styles contract signing. Whatever. A bunch of filler crap. From here, we get Aleister Black, Seth Rollins. It was fine for what it was. It went like 5 minutes. Black just won by DQ because a bunch of all the guys started brawling. The Viking Raiders come in. Then we get an 8-man tag. Literally, Authors of Pain, Murphy and Rollins against Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. I don't care. I'm just over this storyline. So that's what we got there. In the end, this match got dragged out, and we got Rollins, Murphy, and Authors of Pain winning because Seth Rollins hit a stomp on Montez Ford. So that was basically the show. Like, post-match, Kevin Owens seen at ringside. He pulls Seth Rollins out of the ring to beat him down. AOP make the save, and then they end up just taking out Kevin Owens. So was what it was. That was Raw tonight. Whatever show. If you missed it, you didn't miss much, honestly. Watch the Edge segment, watch the AJ Styles promo, and you've seen Raw. So that's right. That's Raw. I'd give the show a D. This is WrestleMania season, and then putting on shows like that, not good enough. So that's a review. Hopefully you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and sub. You guys know the drill. See ya.